How do you stay healthy as a kid who has to go to visitation with a narcissistic parent? As soon as they can deny it, but it also depends on your state and your legalities and age and all that kind of stuff. But a big piece of that is like starting to understand like the truth of the situation. What's your experience with NPD? I'm a narcissist. Welcome. I'm a self-aware narcissist on this channel, provide awareness, growth, healing, change, and development, trying to help people break out of trauma bonds, get out of the rumination, and ultimately take back their power of who they actually are called to be. Do narcissists commonly have substance abuse problems? Yes. Addiction seems easier than actually telling the truth. Do they have periods of depression? Not all, but some do. Probably, I would speak for myself and also like Lee Hammock. Like, we probably get depressed, like, I don't know, every like 3 months. Might be a day, maybe a week. It comes and goes. Why is it almost impossible for narcissists to accept their mistakes? Because that honesty reveals shame. Are bipolar and narcissistic behavior similar? Not necessarily. They are to some degree, but a lot of times people want to label one or the other. There's a lot of different nuances inside of like narcissism that are not in bipolar. And married the girl you cheated with. That's true. My last two narcissists had addiction and alcoholism. As a narcissist proclaimed, he hates guys that abuses women, will even defend women in public from abuse, but abused me at home. Yeah, so he can look good and keep doing it in the back. He's a mega workaholic and not successful. There's a lot of narcissists that aren't successful. I left my narcissistic relationship a few days ago. It's been tough. Jenna, reach out. Either rawmotivation.com or click on the link in the bio. Like the link in the bio is the 7-day challenge. Like, that actually helps you walk through it. You walk through it in a group of other survivors that are going through the challenge at the same time. My ex is already engaged. We broke up 6 months ago. Ex-husband admitted wrongs, promised change 2 years later. We have kids. Bad idea to try again. Gotta be very, 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 very careful. A lot of that is going to be future faking. Promise change 2 years later. Promising change 2 years later, or he's actually changed. Like, that's the difference. If he's promising change 2 years later, keep that dude blocked. Like, that's a bunch of BS. Recently, had someone reconnect with a narcissistic parent. Say to reconnect with a narcissistic parent. Do you have a session where you can check if I'm the narcissist? Not clinically, but just idea. Yeah, no, I talk to people a lot every time. I have a lot of people that like I'll talk to, and some of them like, yep, this is where we're at. Like, we're looking at narcissistic traits, and other people, I'm like, nope, this is not what we're seeing at all. This is like your partner based on like what you're telling me. So I've walked through that road a lot. And sometimes when it gets like really tricky, like especially if I talk to a narcissist and it's like really tricky, like I had a couple times before where I've been like, hey, why don't we do like a couple session and we kind of see from there, and then it instantly comes out. Couple sessions, all right, like just like behind the curtain, okay? Couple sessions for me, I think it fills up my conflict bucket, which is good in one sense, because the conflict bucket, like, I'd rather have that there than anywhere else. A couple sessions are, for me, are probably the most like prolific and intense sessions that I do. I don't meet with a lot of couples, but I do have couples that are like, hey, I want to do a couple session. We do a couple session, and it gets spicy. Like, it gets spicy sometimes. Just because like we'll be going back and forth, and I'll just call it out. I'll be like, that's bullshit. Like, what you just said, like, no, like, you're gaslighting her like right now. Like like I had one 2 weeks ago. Yeah, no, it was 2 weeks ago. I had one, and they're both sitting there, and she's talking, and he's in the back, like smirking, smiling, like she's talking about serious stuff, and he's like smirking, smiling, like all this stuff. And I'm like, dude, you're not even taking it seriously. And then we got to the place where I was like, what do you think she needs? And he was like, I don't know. And I was like, maybe we should ask her. And he was like, yeah, no, that's good. And I was like, well, why don't we listen to her? Okay. So she starts talking, and he interrupts it in like 2 seconds. Like, it's classic. He interrupts in like 2 seconds. And like, I was like, wait a second. Like, you just said you wanted to listen to her. He's like, oh, yeah, yeah, yeah. So like, she starts again, interrupts again, like literally, like that has to justify all this kind of stuff. Interrupts again. And I'm like, hey, like we just talked about this. Interrupts another time. I just told him to shut up. Not the best thing. I'm not a therapist, so it's okay. So I just told him to shut up. He blew up. And I was like, there it is. I was like, there it is. The first couple I've ever hung up on. I finished it up, and I was like, hey, I'll never talk to him again. You're more than welcome to reach out and use any of the resources that we have. Hung up the call, blocked him so you can't ever call back. He's emailed me being like, I want a session again. Like, no, no. Because there's not even a piece of there of him willing to actually change. No. Like, whenever I do a couple sessions, it gets freaking spicy. It's interesting. He's always agreed to my needs, but never followed through. So he never agreed to your needs, he just pulled the wool over your eyes. My ex says he's not a narcissist, refused any form of therapy because he said society ruined women. Um, Regardless of his belief and regardless of whatever truth might be there or might not be there, he's unwilling to work on himself. Like that's the biggest thing. He's like, it's everybody else's fault. It's society's fault. It's women's fault. Like, no, it's your own fault, dude. Actually go to therapy. The silent treatment block always means there's someone else or they're trying to teach you a lesson. A majority of the time is trying to teach you a lesson, is trying to get you to comply. But if you love them so much and you wish they would change, it hurts so much. So my other piece with that is like when you do this to such a high level, high degree, one, you're trauma bonded, and two, you're stuck where you keep going back over and over. But then ultimately you don't actually have any love for yourself because you're willing to sacrifice your needs for someone else that's not even caring about you at all. Does narcissists steal personalities that they admire to fake it? So yes, but I want to clarify, Donna, because people go down this road, and I don't really like the road we go down completely. Let me explain why. Okay, people go down this road of like, do narcissists take personalities? Do narcissists go after people that they admire? Short answer of that is no. Okay, because there's not this piece of a narcissist that's like, oh my gosh, you are so empathetic. Like, let me have you in my life so I can learn how to be empathetic, so I can be empathetic for other people. It doesn't work that way. Okay. But you will have a narcissist that's like, I like a piece of that I want to be able to have influence my image or make me look better in different aspects. Because the word admire a lot of times makes other people feel and like victims feel like they have a higher worth. And the thing with that is not that we're judging a person's worth and all. The thing with that is then you start to acknowledge and you start to think, even subconsciously, that this person is dictating your worth, and that's a bunch of bullshit. Okay, narcissist doesn't dictate your worth at all. Is there anything that could have prevented you from becoming a narcissist? Mm, that's a good question. I don't have a good answer for you. I'm sorry. Can a narcissist work with a narcissist who isn't? Can a relationship work with a narcissist who isn't in therapy? Is it worth it? I would say no. Personally, you need honesty, therapy, and I would say a dose of God in there to actually have any true change. How do you manage a narcissist ex that uses the kids as a way of manipulation? You got to be able to take that power and control away. It's really rough. It's really hard. But he's got to be able to take that piece away. I left my Christian pastor in February. He says childhood is his childhood is relevant. It's just a sin issue. Yes, it is a sin issue, but if that person's not willing to be honest about it and actually work on change, then like you're still dealing with this and there's no change there. Like that's why I don't even recommend people to go to like a Christian counselor because typically like they make it even worse. Okay.